So good afternoon students. Today we are in the lesson 3 of 18FT 704. So today's topic of unit 1 is test data management and analysis and also the regulatory testing. As we have already discussed in the previous lesson that there are various types of testings are there, and those testings are on regular testing. Then we have also seen little bit of restricted substances testing also. So today we will see how we can really manage the data, and management of data, why it is necessary also, that we will see. And so we have to understand different types of regulatory testing which are there in the garment testing industry, and who is capable of doing such kind of testing, and why such kind of regulatory testing is important to us. So students, listen carefully. We will start with test data management and then we will go into the regulatory testing. Let us see now what do you mean by test data management. We have heard about quality management, environmental management, but test data management is a unique term associated with testing, and this has come from the requirement of different buyers. Why buyers they require this management? Students, you may ask these questions. What is the need of test data management? You see that test data management will help not only the buyers but also to the suppliers also, and also it will help the third party laboratories who are actually conducting this kind of testing. So let us see that what is there in this test data management. Now students, you can see one of the test reports of a third party multinational laboratory, that is SGS. So such kind of reports are generated after doing the product testing by that company. Okay. So test data management and analysis, what do you mean by that? Now the report which has been generated by SGS is called a test report. Now test report contains many different kind of activities. It contains the test data, it contains the different methods by which testing has been done, okay, and some of the test report also contains a little bit of suggestions if there is a failure. And test report normally also gives that what is the requirement standard also and what we have achieved. So those are the test reports. Now I have taken an example of SGS, but there are a lot of other test reports are also there. Those belong to different third party organizations like Bureau Veritas, then TUV, then Intertech. So a lot of such agencies are there who are the third parties. So this SGS released the test report, and this data is now with the factory. Okay. Now the factory, they are having some responsibilities also, and suppliers, they are also having some responsibilities. Suppliers means the supplier of fabric, suppliers of accessories, all these things. Now sometimes the buyers, they request the third party laboratories to upload the data in their server. Okay, we call it as sometimes the data mining also. What is the benefit? Benefit is that instead of sending the report through different mode like a hard copy sending, then soft copy sending, okay, by email you are sending. So instead of that, it is directly going into the server, and one technical director, he or she reviews that reports and all this. So in a very short time, the reports are there in the server, and one can do lot of analysis. So test data is not only important for just record keeping purpose, but to analyze the data also. Like in one season, a particular fabric, this was the test data, but in another season we can compare. Sometimes we can also avoid the repeat testing if the test data is available, but also there are certain restrictions into that. So that's why test data management and analysis is a very important criteria in this part. Now in this, there is also one advantage. Students, what are the advantages of preparing such kind of server based reports? Can you tell? You see in front of your screen there is a scorecard. Can anybody tell why scorecard? What is the necessity of the scorecard? Scorecard is necessary because we can really compare the suppliers. Like different testing is going on, and same product is tested by different laboratories, or same supplier is giving that one to the different parties, or supplier is producing different items. So many kind of things can be associated with the supplier. Now on the basis of that, suppose a buyer is working with 10 different suppliers. So by seeing this data in their database, one can really compare which supplier is better supplier, where the failure and pass ratings are very important. Where failure ratings are more, so their supplier will get the less marks, and overall rating is very important. Okay, overall rating means that some numbers and all these things based on the failure or success in the testing. So that's why the scorecard is very important to identify the good supplier and the bad supplier. So test data and management is a very important tool. Students, can you identify what is this? Somebody is actually trying to match the color, production color, with the actual standard colors. Now analysis of the material and specific colors are very important in the test data management. Whether the sample what has been given by the buyer is matching with the production lot in one shot. So that is the color approval process. It facilitates color approval process also. So that is also a part of testing. So wherein the testing is getting carried out on the color aspects, and just to match that color, production color is matching with the standard or not. In this way, we can also analyze the materials also, based on which the color has been imparted. That is the reason the analysis of the material and specific colors are very important. An example we can give that, suppose a cotton fabric is there and we are applying the reactive dyes, the blue color. Now instead of cotton, now if we apply to cotton and polyester blend, what will be the effect, color effect into that? Whether we can dye with the same color, same dye, both the fibers. So all these things will give a particular kind of indications that how the color will react with the material. So analysis of the material and specific colors, that's why are very important in this category. Now test data management and analysis, when we are talking, we normally apply this data mining in RSL testing. Students, you may aware, in the last class we talked about restricted substances list, okay, and we have seen that there are various restricted substances which can be found in the garment. We can found the banned amines, we can found allergenic dispersed dyes, we can found formaldehyde in the material. Then there are many other chlorobenzenes can be available into that. So in that fashion, many such kind of restricted substances are there. Whether students it is for only fabric? No, it is also applicable for accessories. We can get the heavy metals out of it. We can get the phthalate in the heavy metals, we can get the plastic buttons where phthalate can be present. We can get some metal coatings where lead can be present. Even the dye stuff also contain some metal complex dyes, they contain the heavy metals. So that's why the RSL testing is very, very important, and data mining, the data management plays an important role to it. Okay, when we really are talking about putting the data in the database of the buyer. Okay, so RSL test data is very, very important in the data management process, because we can really understand the performance of the supplier, okay, background of the supplier, whether they are really using good dyes, positive chemicals, and also the accessories which are free from heavy metals. That is the reason RSL testing and their communication system with the vendors, buyers are very, very important. We need to analyze the test data and to come into different conclusions. Okay, so that's why the restricted substances list is very, very important topic of discussions, and buyers, they normally talk about this testing. This is not comes under the routine testing. This is a specialized testing. Okay, so under this category the restricted substances are found. Let us see, students, that what are the different kinds of standards and regulations are there and what is important for us. Those kind of things we will try to discuss in the following lesson. One of the important parameter while the testing is getting carried out is the requirement standards. Requirement standard means the buyer has specified certain requirement for fabric or garment, and those standards are different. It varies from fabric to fabric, it varies from color to color, and it varies from end use to end use. Similarly, important points of discussion is also the regulations. Students, can you imagine how regulation comes into play in testing and why this is important? You see, the regulations are important because each country is having their own regulations. China is having their own regulations, Korea is having their own regulations, Europe having their own testing regulations, US having their own regulations. Now, when we are doing the testing, we have to safeguard those kind of regulations. We have to obey the regulations. We have to perform the testing as per those regulations. So that is why we are talking about safeguarding the regulations of that particular country, and the requirement standards plays an important role into it. I hope, students, you have understood what is how we really look into it and different standards and regulations. Now we will talk about little bit on different regulatory testing. You may ask students that what is the meaning of regulatory testing? Why regulatory testing is required? Or what is the importance of regulatory testing? Okay. And why it is essential to regulate such kind of testing? Why it is not coming under the normal testing or routine testing? Because these regulatory testing are related to the health and safety also of the people. So that's why different countries, they impose certain amount of regulations into it. Now there are various types of regulations are there, but in the garment industry, when you are talking, three major regulatory testings are involved here in normal garment. These regulatory testings are classified or can be categorized into three categories. One is the flammability, is a very important term, flammability of a fabric or garment. Then it comes about the care labeling, how the care labeling is there in the garment, where it is getting attached and what is there in the care labeling. Of course, we have a different unit fully on care labeling. We will discuss more into that. Fiber identification is very important. Students, do you understand what is meaning of fiber identification? You see that fiber identification is nothing but the apparel what you are wearing. What is the fiber inside it? You may ask me that why it is so important. I am wearing that material, it gives me comfort, that's all. It satisfies me. Why it is so important? It is so important because the regulatory things like a fiber identification plays a major role when we are shipping the goods to the other countries. Lot of duties, customs regulations are associated with that. So fiber identification label is very important. Instead of 100% cotton, if anybody uses 88% cotton and 12% polyester, whether that will be correct? And who is getting benefited out of it? Such kind of care labeling. That is important here. That's why fiber identification plays a major role in this regulatory testing. Normally in the duty structure is like that, 100% cotton duty structures are more levying, but in case of if there is a mixture of polyester, so the cost of that is getting reduced. So those kind of things are to be taken into account. So many of the factories, that's why, have been caught in the past because wrong fiber content regulations. A material which is prepared from 88% cotton and 12% polyester fetches less money than 100% cotton. But if anybody is using a 100% cotton label in that particular 88% cotton and 12% polyester fabric, then it is a very wrong thing. You are getting the profit out of it, but you are one sort of cheating to the customer. Customer knows that it is 100% cotton, but you have mixed it with polyester. So that's why such kind of things can be prohibited by doing some sort of analysis, and that analysis comes under the regulatory testing, and that is called the fiber identification. Now student, let us see what is flammability, what is the care labeling, why it is so important, and also the fiber identification, why it is so important. Let us see, starting from flammability. As the name suggests, flammability means that ability to catch fire. Okay. So there are a lot of fibers are there which actually attracts the fire very easily and burns vigorously. Normally the natural fibers. In case of polyester or synthetics, the case is reverse. It burns, but to a certain extent. After that, it melts, extinguishes, fire extinguishes. Students, you may ask me a question, which one is more dangerous? The burning or extinguishing after burning? Which one is more dangerous? Can anybody tell? Students, can you tell which one is harmful for our body? You know, the polyester or any kind of melting is very dangerous because direct effect on the skin, okay, more severe attack in fire, in synthetic fiber, that's why. So when you are talking of flammability, we talk about the propagation of the flame. In terms of flammability, we call it as speed of flame. How speedily it catches fire and goes into that fabric interfaces, and full fabric then caught fire. Intensity of flame, how much intense is the flame, that is also important in flammability. And third important point in flammability is of ease of ignition, how easily it ignites. So those are the 3 points essential to understand the flammability of a fabric. Okay. Now let us see what are the different types of flammability and what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. Now if we see the different types of flammability, we can see some of the fiber, as I already told, it runs very vigorously, it burns, okay, and there is no ignition. Sometimes there is no ignition at all after doing that, after getting the fire, okay, no fuse, does not ignite. So those kind of things are very important when you are talking about the low intensity of flame, okay. It depends, that's why, how much flammable the fabric is, and it depends upon how much intensity of the flame is, and how fast it got fire. So those are the important points in this flammability chapter. Now let us see, students, that what is the standard, okay. Now normal fabric, if we talk, then normal fabric means normal plain fabric, okay. So normal fabric, it is 3.5 seconds, okay, or more when it goes into this 16 CFR 1610 regulations. Then there are different other fibers are also there, those are called the raised fabric, tufting, flocking, pile, all these things are there. So how important is that flame spreading? So that is important here in those raised fabric surface. So raised surface fabric, more time is required, okay. Now tufted fabric, the examples, raised fabric examples and the flock fabric examples are there. So when these type of fabrics caught fire, so the burning behaviors are different than the plain fabric, because there are certain kinds of raised surfaces are there, raised fibers are there on the surface. So that's why they are tufted, they are raised, or they are the flock material, flock printed material or flocked material. So these are the examples of the pile fabric and nappe fabric. This is the example. So these are the difference of the surface. You know, burning behavior of any kind of fabric also depends upon which surface. That is the reason the time of flame spreading is very, very important. And this kind of fabric, that raised surface fabrics, the international standard norms is 7 seconds for textile, okay, with nappe, with pile, with tufting and flocking. So all these things, raised fiber surface, coming under raised fiber surface. Okay. So here, that's why it is very important when a fabric needs to pass 7 seconds their requirement standard. So this is the examples, pile fabric. Now this is coming under a category called intermediate flaming. It is a legal terms, the intermediate flaming, not accepted for sale. Intermediate flaming, if it passes, then also it is a problem. It cannot be accepted for sale, though it is passing intermediate flammability, because buyer doesn't want this kind of taking that risk. So that is the intermediate flammability, not accepted for sale, but it is legally permitted, ignites and fuses. This is about the flame we are talking. So that comes under intermediate flammability. Now a nap fabric surface is there before you, and 4 to 7 seconds the requirement standard with nap, pile, tufting, flocking, raised fiber. Okay. So these are the standards for flame spreading. There is also third category of flammability standards are also there. It is the dangerously flammable, and it is illegal in US. You cannot ship such kind of category, the third category of goods, to US. So here previous terms, what we call it as, it is intermediate flammability, and here it is rapid and intense burning. It is dangerously flammable and illegal in US. You cannot ship such goods to the US. So it is illegal because of that reasons. And less than 3.5 seconds when it is there for textiles with or without nap, pile, tufting, flock and raised fiber. So standards says it should be, or it is less than 3.5 seconds in those fiber. 3.5 seconds is that in that particular arrangement of the flammability testing, that flame reaches to a particular area in a less than 3.5 seconds. Okay. So more the your time required to reach, better is the flammability. Less time means it burns very rapidly. Okay. So that's why time of flame spreading takes an important role here in flammability characteristics. So we should know that what type of flame and what type of seconds are required for this kind of flammability spreading. Okay. Now students, we will talk about what are the exceptions. Now we have talked so far about the normal fabric. Let us see now that different kind of exceptions which are permitted for flammability testing. What do we mean by exceptions, students? You see, exceptions are nothing but this kind of material, they are exempted for testing the flammability. That's why there are exceptions. Gloves under this category, then hats comes under this category, interlining comes under the category, footwear, it comes under the category. So these are the exceptions. Now fabric that does not have the raised fiber surface, then yarn such as tufting, file or the nap, okay, that type of fabrics are also available which are exempted, okay, because it is intentionally raised fiber surface, does not have, okay. So such are the exceptions which are really permitted in this flammability testing. So it is, you can understand, it is intentionally or unintentionally it has been created into that. So thus this kind of products, that's why we must aware. Now we have seen the products which are exempted from flammability. But let us see some fibers are also there, like acrylic, mode acrylic, nylon, olefin, polyester and wool. They are the exceptional fibers which are exempted from flammability. Now here comes another different variable, that is called the weight of the material. That also plays an important role. When weight of the material is more than 3.5 ounce per square yard, then many of the cases it had been seen that flammability testing has passed. But below that category, 2.6 ounce per square yard or below category, it is very dangerous. So depends upon the buyer what type of exception he wants to give, but normally these are the fibers which are exempted. But again, it depends upon the fabric weight. If it is very flimsy fabric, then of course you have to go for this flammability testing. Okay, it is applied to acrylic, mode acrylic, nylon, olefin, polyester and also wool. So exceptions are also there. Now students, let us see now what are the high risk fabrics into this category. Acetate, linen, rayon, cotton, silk, fuzzy and napped surface, chiffon, crepe, then gauge fabric, all these things are the high risk fabrics. There are certain rules and regulations. US Flammable Fabrics Act standard is there for the flammability of adults and children's. So far what we have talked about the adult garments. Now whether students, the children's flammability is different from the adult? Let us see. Now child or their fabrics or their garments are really different. So that's why US flammability standard is different for them. For general wear, 16 CFR 1610 is applicable. For children's garment, 16 CFR part 1615 and 1616 is applicable. It protects from flame, match, lighter, stove burner, etc. So fabric flammability for the children's garment, we have to test and it should pass 1615 and 1616, this requirement standard. This indirectly gives an indication this fabric or the garment which is used for this children's garment, it is safe against flame, match, lighter, stove burner. Okay, so student or the children's can easily use those material. There are requirement standards are also there when you are applying the flammability standard. Larger than 9 months and size up to 14 must be either flame resistance or snug fitting. Then exceptions, which are the exceptions? Exceptions are the diapers, exceptions are the underwear, exceptions are the snug fitting garments. So these are the children's material, those are exempted from children's flammability testing. Exception, one piece garment not exceeds 25.75 inches, a two piece garment with no piece exceeding 15.75 inches. So these are the two exceptions. Based on that, whether we require the children's flammability testing or not, that is decided. There are certain regulations are also there in UK. We call it as UK Nightwear Safety Regulations. It is also country specific. We have seen that many a times the testing standard vary depending upon the country. Requirements, fire performance of the fabric is the requirement, into that how it behaves. Baby garment chest measurement not exceeding 53 centimeter in this category. That is important for UK regulations. UK regulation also children's nightwear, when we are talking 3 months to 13 years. Chest measurement is 91 centimeter, length 122 centimeter. So these are called the children's garment or children's nightwear garments. Adult nightwear same as children's nightwear and usually not tested for adult knitwear garments. Okay. So in this case testing is not required. Okay. Students, then we have understood now flammability. Why it is important? What are the different flammability regulations are there in different countries? Let us see now a different chapter, different topic which talks about care labeling of garments. What do you mean by care labeling of garments, students? As I already pointed out, this is nothing but to prolong the useful life of the garment. For that reason, some care instructions are there in the garment. So that is called the care labeling. What does it contain in the care labeling then? Let us see. It gives the accurate care instruction. It is useful for cleaning the garment or refurbishing the garment. And also it is useful for laundry and the dry cleaners also. Care labeling, by which by using this one can really adapt a certain methods kind of thing in laundering, or in the dry cleaning proper solvent can be used in the dry cleaning operation. Now regular care instructions are very important and it will avoid any damage to the material, but it is not a quality seal. Now care labeling, when it is attached to the garment, it doesn't mean that it is a quality product. This is just but an instruction, okay, how to care the garment, how to wash the garment, how to really bleach the garment, how to really dry the garment or to iron the garment, or whether we should go for dry cleaning or not to dry clean it. All informations are there in this care labeling of garments. So regular care instructions should be there. It will avoid any kind of damage to the garment, and it is not a quality seal. Those three things are very important to remember. Now in the picture we have seen that care label. We will do it in little bit of details when we talk about unit 2. Now many deciding factors are there while we decide the care label. So based on that, this lot of instructions are there in the garment. So this is one of the picture by which care labeling is depicted, which is attached to the really a particular garment, and what are the things available there also is important. And normally care label is attached permanently to the garment and it should remain legible. Symbols may be used with words. So these are the different requirements for care labeling. So you can see the symbols are there, and below there are certain kind of wordings are also there. So those kind of informations are very important. Now when we talk about the care instruction, what are the elements present in the care labeling or care instruction? Let us see in a very nutshell. There are certain kind of washing techniques are there at different temperature. Bleaching, it contains both chlorine and non-chlorine bleach. Drying, there are 4 different types of drying are there. Mainly in the care labeling for exports, we normally use the tumble drying, but there are a lot of other drying like a flat drying is there, then line drying is there. So many other kind of drying methods are also there. Important informations in the care label also is ironing. The students will be surprised to know that The ironing plays a major role in care instruction. At what temperature you are ironing the goods? If a required temperature is 100 degree centigrade and you are using a temperature of 200 degree centigrade in your iron box, imagine students what can happen. Okay, that is the reason actually the ironing temperature is very important in this kind of care labeling or care instruction. And of course the dry cleaning, when the material is very costly material, or the washing and all these things, really you cannot perform with detergents into that because it will harm the product, or it will really, you can see that color bleeding and all these things may come. So that's why dry cleaning preferred sometimes. Washing, bleaching, drying, ironing and dry cleaning, all these parameters are important. Sometimes symbols are used in addition to words, and words must fulfill the requirement. By words actually, what are the things you want to do, that must be there. Like 40 degree centigrade. In the picture you can see that 40 degree centigrade, but when you are writing you have to write also that at 40 degree centigrade washing. So these are the things important in care symbols. There are various categories of symboling are there. Symbols are there in various categories. So we will see in more detail in one of the units, that is the unit 2, and we can see each of these items, specific items separately. Let us go into the next part of our discussion, that is called the fiber identification. As I already mentioned to you, what is the meaning of fiber identification and what is the importance of it. Students, you may understand now that what is the importance of fiber identification, because it regulates many things in the industry. That's why it is called a regulatory testing or regulatory testing, especially the duty structures and all these things. Fiber identification can be carried out in various forms or in various ways also. Okay. Now, fiber content is one of the part and parcel of the label also. Percentage of all fibers are very important here. Generic name of the fiber also important. Generic name means what type of fiber it is. It is a cotton fiber, it is a polyester fiber, it is a synthetic fiber, or is it a kind of elastane kind of fiber. All things should be disclosed there. Generic name. If it is a bamboo, the bamboo fiber name should be there. If it is a tensile fiber name should be there. Another important parameter in this particular category of identification test is the percentage of all fibers. Manufacturer's name, their identification number, then country of origin, all are the important areas in the fiber content level when you are talking. And the act is called Textile Fiber Products Identification Act. So in this act, it contains the name, it contains the percentage, manufacturing name also, ID number also, and country of origin, of course. Those things are there in the textile fiber production. Student, let us see another important parameter here, that is the monofilament in decoration. You know that decorations actually, we want some lustrous effect into that. So monofilament gives this effect. But whether, students, we can use really the monofilament in your garment? No. Because this monofilament is banned under 6 years, and protection from stretch and possible strangulations. So those two things are very common when you are using the monofilament in children's garment. So it should be avoided. Monofilament, if it is there, that particular material will fail in the process. Now, Wool Products Labeling Act also is important when you tell about the protection of some substitutes and the mixture in wool. Many of the cases proper wool is not used, it is getting substituted also. So that comes under Wool Products Labeling Act. Of course, the amount of wool when it is there, wool labeling, the number, WPL number is very important. Country of origin is important here. What type of fiber, name and fiber content is important here. Now, what do we mean, students, by 100% or all? When you are giving the fiber content, that I already told you, like a fabric contains 100% of cotton. So you have to write 100% cotton or all. Now virgin or new also, if any new fiber is there, we have to also differentiate between them and give a particular name to that particular fiber. That is the reason name and fiber content also is very important parameter in this kind of discussion. So different fiber, textile products, it may contain different kind of your fiber, and those fibers generic names are very important, and we have to disclose it into the fiber content label. Now students, you may ask that how we will test this product, how we will really classify them, how we will really understand what type of blends are there, how much fiber is there in each blend. You see students, there are some AATCC test standards are there. Through that, if anybody tests that, normally this kind of testing is getting done in some third-party laboratories. So they clearly identify that particular fiber, and also after identification of that particular fiber, they really then label the material as per the content. Okay. So that is the way the textile products are labeled for the fiber, and stringent tests are involved. It contains the microscopic examinations, sometimes the separation, mechanical separations, sometimes the cross sections are getting studied, and confirmation test is always the chemical tests, by which the textile fiber is getting identified. Product made of one fiber, it is different than product made for other fibers. When product made for one fiber, label contains 100% or pure or all. Now, due to the reason that in the production situation, sometimes 100% of any product is difficult to achieve. Some contaminations are there into that. So either knowingly or unknowingly, this type of contamination from other machines or somewhere it has come. So 100%, though it is 100% cotton, maybe there little bit of mixture of viscose, mixture of polyester may be there, but this tolerance is 3%. So 100% means that in the blend when you are talking, there are certain tolerances are there. In case of pure or all, there is no tolerance, but this tolerance exists for the blended material. Okay. So that is why the fiber content label plays an important role in regulatory testing. Okay. Now fiber name and its percentage is very important, like 85% cotton and 15% of polyester. This kind of labeling should be there, and that must be attached to the particular garment. Now let us see that different kind of products where no fiber is at least 85% of the total weight, and if such is the case, fiber less than 10% of total fiber weight used as other fibers. Okay. So 10% other fibers means you have to give 100% cotton and rest are the other fibers. So wool fabric also can be treated accordingly. So products made of wool. So in this fashion, students, in this particular area, we have seen that textile products, how it is getting identified and what is the act in it. We have seen an important parameter here, that in case of 100% cotton, there is no tolerance, but when it is blended, there is a tolerance of plus minus 3%. That is the area actually I wanted to cover. Hence students, today's in this particular 18FT 704, in this particular unit and lesson number 3, we have really covered the test management, how to manage the test data and how it is beneficial in data mining process, whether we can really understand the performance of the supplier through this by doing some kind of ranking of the suppliers, by maintaining some scorecards. This type of information is very much useful, especially the database when it is prepared for RSL testing, because this is very crucial testing and under the category of the special tests. We have also seen the different test reports, and those data of those test reports are to be incorporated in the database, and that database of the server should be maintained at a common place by the buyer, and everybody should get the benefit of this management. One can understand the past records, the performance of the supplier, performance of certain fabric, performance of certain colors, all these things. Now next part of our discussions, we have seen that different testing which are really the regulatory one and different from the normal testing. In this category we have seen just now the flammability testing, both for adults and also for the children. We have also seen here fiber content, okay, identification of the fiber content act, by which how the fiber can be classified or how the content of the fabric can be given. And third part of this particular lesson, we have covered also the care leveling. Care leveling also plays an important role to really understand the real useful life of the garment. You can really enhance if you really maintain your material, really maintain the washing, bleaching, ironing or dry cleaning in a perfect fashion. Care leveling, that's why, plays an important role in regulatory testing, for which you will see in more detail how different countries, they are imposing different kind of rules for care leveling and how important this care leveling is for the different customers. So that's all students for today, and we will come with a new chapter in the next lesson. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. Thank you.